There's a lot of Canadians who like the invitation, right? You don't hear about this in the news, but under the right terms, it would be a pretty good relationship.
Man, keep y'all healthcare.
Well, but here's my deal. So what if we gave you guys healthcare? Like, what if our negotiating terms was, okay, you want us to join, right? We'll give you weed. We'll give you healthcare.
Jesse,
right?
Jesse. If you want to sell me on this notion, all you got to give me is Putin. And I'm in.
There you go.
I am
True.
There
in.
you go.
100%.
Let's go.
That's it. That's all we need.
Oh, Canada. I'm like ready. I'm ready. Just give me Putin and I'm ready.
Look, in Toronto.
It's your boy SoSo Juv, and welcome to another episode of the My 5 Cents podcast. Oh my goodness, I am so happy and excited to introduce the cast of characters to my that way. We got a Chillis.
It's your favorite friend, habitual line stepper. What's up, everybody?
What's going on, man? How you?
I'm good. I can't call it.
Yeah, you can call it. You can call it L. You can call it L.
Listen,
what you mean you
can
can't
never
call it?
Listen,
L.
I'm predicting this one. I have this one in the bag.
In the bag. Oh my God, I love
boy,
the bag.
bold
Those are like the
statement.
best. Into my bottom, I got Logical Genius.
What's up, everyone? The logical one is in the building. Good
What's
to be
going
back.
on, man?
I don't know. I feel like I don't even know what episode we're on right now. I showed up and someone was sitting in my chair. Apparently, shout out to Mick. He sat in my chair for a few seconds, but then he had to leave. So I appreciate him for that. We love him for that. But I'm back.
That's it. Shout out, Mick.
Welcome.
Thank you so much from Scene Snobs. We always appreciate you. So let's get into our topic today. And HLS, what is our topic for today?
It's movies that predicted the future.
Movies that predicted the future. And this is such an interesting person that we're going to have talking about this, because our guest is a futurist farmer based in rural Eastern Ontario. On his farm, the Academy of the Impossible, which is wired up with high-speed fiber optic internet, he engages in a wide range of research regarding agriculture, media, technology, and culture. He has a master's degree in algorithmic media from Toronto Metropolitan University. His current focus is on the rise of automated media, as well as the governance and ethics of artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and privacy. He writes a daily newsletter called MetaViews, The Future of Authority, which you can find on Substack. Our guest has an infectious energy that lifts spirits and enables creative, critical thinking. He's always learning, sharing, and helping others to do the same. Please welcome to the My 5 Cents podcast, Jesse Hirsh. Welcome.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, Jesse, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine and definitely ours. So, icebreaker time. What is your superpower, Jesse, and how has it assisted you in your journey?
I think the easy answer is my imagination, but I think a better answer is I think differently. I have this real problem where if everyone goes left, I got to go right. If they zig, I got to zag. It's almost a bad habit, but if I focus it means I can always be learning something new every day. And, I should admit that I'm a pretty new farmer. I spent most of my life living in the city. But it got to a point where I was like, I need to push my limits. I need to learn. Really, you could almost call me a YouTube farmer, because if it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't be able to do all this.
Okay.
But again, it's where the thinking differently really comes through.
So, yes, let's talk about the farming piece real quick, because I read your bio, and the first thing, it's like first few lines, not even first few words, futurist farmer. What the heck is that?
It's a bit of a paradox. I mean, on the one hand, I was a futurist before I was a farmer. And the more I thought about the future, the more I was like, damn, I need to control my food supply. I want to be at the front lines of climate change and make sure that I'm prepared for that. But when I became a farmer, I realized that all farmers are futurists. Like, you got to be a futurist to be a farmer. You got to think about your crops. You got to think about your animals. You got to anticipate the growing season. So it's kind of this paradox of like the future and ancient times where I'm really into technology. I'm really into AI and the role that AI can play in farming. But I also recognize that farmers are like the original hackers. Like, they were the ones who invented tools before any of us were using tools, right? It's this paradox that we kind of take for granted farmers as being this stale, old, kind of lame archetype. But there's lots of new farmers, again, thanks to social media, thanks to the internet, who can kind of learn and figure this stuff as they go along. So it's a paradox that I sort of put out there to fuck with people.
It's funny you say like tools. I think some of the earliest tools found were farming tools, like in human history. So I'm curious to stay along the lines of farming. And you mentioned, in your bio, AI, right? My day job, my Bruce Wayne job, I deal with AI stuff, right? How are you seeing AI? You talk about governance, right? That's a big thing in a lot of corporations. That's what we're dealing with. Uh, and how does that play with farming? Like, how does AI come into? I know there's a lot of predictive analytics that AI can do with farming, and not just farming, but agriculture. But what are your thoughts on that? Shed some light on AI and farming. How does AI touch the or farming, which seems to be more of a natural like industry, right, as opposed to AI being fully tech?
And there's kind of two sides to that, to your point about governance. The first is, if you think about a self-driving car, we were supposed to have them 5 years ago. And the reason we haven't is traffic's complicated, right? Cities are complicated. People riding their bike are complicated. Farms are simple, right? You take a plot of land that's often square, you have specific seeds. It makes it really easy to train AI to spot pesticides, to spot bugs, to spot, all the things that you would normally use, a lot of chemicals, a lot of a heavy machinery. There's now robots. You can have lots of little robots that just run through the field, and they literally just cut all the weeds. So no pesticides, right? And they can identify where the manure or the fertilizer needs to go. So the first answer is AI is really easy in farming, and it's having a huge impact. It's automating the tractors, it's automating the combines, making it easier for idiots to kind of get in the game, because a lot of this stuff is made easy. But to your point about governance, here's the problem. John Deere is kind of taken over the entire agricultural industry, right? And the big companies who can invest in AI have a huge advantage over small farmers, have a huge advantage over other farmers. So while AI could, I made this presentation about how our food could be free if we had robots work in the fields, right? Then you don't have to worry about a lot of that cost. But instead, what we're getting is kind of monopolies, right? And these big companies who use AI as leverage to kind of control the marketplace. So that's why governance is so important. It could be democracy, where farmers get these tools and could do it on their own. There's lots of free and open source farming robots that are being built by farmers who want to share, compared to John Deere, which charges like $10 million for a tractor that, granted, is a huge robot, can do amazing things. But that's the big business side to this, which I'm sure as a genius, you're quite familiar with.
Don't gas his head up.
Don't do that.
What's funny? The irony is that I've been binge watching Yellowstone, and it's about farmers, right? And granted, it's very sensationalized. It's very TV for made, right? Mafia type, Game of Thrones type of thing. But I kind of picked up a lot of things on the farming side. It's pretty, I haven't been fact checking it, but it's pretty insightful.
Yeah. And that's why Taylor Sheridan, I think, is the guy in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
Because he's teaching a lot of people, whether it's Yellowstone with farming, whether it's Landman with the oil industry. It's using compelling stories to help people understand this stuff.
Yeah.
And, edutainment.
Yeah, edutainment. That's what we do.
So you're a futuristic farmer, and you said before you're a farmer, you're a futurist. How do you feel about where the world is heading? What does that look like for you in the future?
Well, I'm kind of of two minds. To be honest, it depends if I've eaten or not, right? It depends the emotional mood. I mean, my trick as a futurist is I give people the future they want, right? If they want a dystopia, I can give them a dystopia. If they want to feel good about the future, I can offer them that. Because my message is you make the future. Like we're all gonna have different futures. Right. There are futures that we kind of share together. And to your point, I am kind of anxious about the incoming US administration. They're threatening Canada, right? They're saying, hey, we're going to take you over.
Panama taking the canal back. What's going on here?
Right.
The Gulf of America.
You know,
some people call it a threat. Some people call it an invitation. I don't know. It depends on what side of the coin you're on.
There's a lot of Canadians who like the invitation, right? You don't hear about this in the news, but under the right terms, it would be a pretty good relationship.
Man, keep y'all healthcare.
Well, here's my deal. So what if we gave you guys healthcare? Like, what if our negotiating terms was, okay, you want us to join, right? We'll give you weed. We'll give you healthcare.
Jesse. If you want to sell me on this notion, all you got to give me is Putin, and I'm in.
There you go.
I am
There
in.
you go.
Let's go.
That's it. That's all we need.
Oh, Canada. I'm like ready. I'm ready. Just give me Putin and I'm ready.
Look, in Toronto, and I say this without exaggeration, there are poutine shops on almost every block. It's cannabis, poutine, and Starbucks, right? Those are your
those are the three.
Yeah. So
Starbucks, not Tim Hortons. Is that Starbucks took over there?
It's funny you mentioned that. Tim Hortons is kind of small town, right? Tim Hortons is your kind of Republican version of Canada, versus like America. Starbucks is your kind of city, your hipster, right? The culture in North America has a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Which is why maybe we will all be living in the same country sooner rather than later.
So let me do a quick follow-up to that on being your prediction of the future, right? You said you can give the future that people want to see, but harking back on that question, like where do you see our future? Like you have to look as a futurist. You're looking at from multiple angles, right? The good and the bad. But where do you see our path, like human path?
The word I'm using, and a lot of other people are using this, is polycrisis, which basically means really bad shit. Right? It's the intersection of climate change. It's the intersection of stuff like COVID and this bird flu that may or may not come up. It's, people like Trump threatening the world order as we know it. It's just crisis after crisis after crisis, which is scary for most, but it's an opportunity for some. Right? I mean, that's why a lot of people voted for the guy. It's because they want him to cause shit. They want him to create chaos because people with a lot of money profit when there's blood in the streets. I am the kind of person where I see chaos as an opportunity. I would rather we be in a society that benefits everybody. And to answer your question, I think we're moving away from that. I think, we're moving into a world where the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and that leads to unrest. That leads to a lot of challenges. That's why I'm saying we do need healthcare, right? We all need to be able to deal with our mental health issues as well as physical health issues free of charge without having to pay anybody. But I'm anxious is the honest answer. But at the same time, I think we are seeing a resilience. So today, and this is this broadcast, this episode will be a little bit in the future, but the TikTok thing right now is phenomenal because everyone's trying Red Note and they're all installing Red Note, this Chinese social media app, as like a fuck you to the government trying to ban TikTok. And that fills me with hope, not because they're turning to the Chinese, but because they're saying fuck you, right? Yeah. And they're standing up. So when I look at young people, I feel confidence. When I look at governments, I feel anxiety. But my answer is chaos. We're going to see a lot of crazy shit.
So I want to take you to your newsletter, MetaViews, and you say it's the future of authority. So to you, the authority is who right now?
Not the good people. The billionaires right now are the authority. And that's why I want to imagine a future in which they're not an authority. right? And the future of authority is a play. On the one hand, I'm claiming that I know the future of authority, which I don't. But on the other hand, I'm inviting people to imagine a future of authority where we, the four of us, all of us, are the authority. And that's why I love your show, because each of you are competing to be the authority, right? You're each giving your 5 cents, and you're like, here's why I'm the authority on the 5 movies of the future. So the
two of us are. One of us just
right.
is always not the authority. Yeah.
But
I'm not going to say any names, but
that's the dynamic nature of it. So I think we're headed into authoritarianism, right? We're headed into a world in which insecure people want to exercise authority. When I believe in democracy, right? I believe when the authority lies in the hands of the people. And I think democracy has failed because we couldn't figure out the internet, right? Our government couldn't figure out the internet. So the future of authority is, hey, let's imagine a future authority that is democratic, but deals with the crazy stuff we got to deal with in the here and now.
Yeah, the internet was such a game changer. It blew everything so wide open. So like newspapers, right? It went extinct pretty much because of the internet, because they didn't figure it out that, hey, we should probably have a subscription for this that we have online for free. Then newspapers probably would still have survived. Well, what's funny is they're trying to catch up now. Like I went on CNN.com and like links that I used to be able to click on. It's like, oh, now you need CNN Plus to be able to check on news article, which then made me wonder, like, all right, now where are people going to get their news now if I don't want to pay for, I guess, the news that you're selling me? I guess you're selling me the news as opposed to giving me the news. So it's just an interesting dynamic that we're going to. And I think we're going to transition to another interesting dynamic in which you are the authority, Jesse. So we're going to transition to the next phase of our program, in which we call it our 5 cents. So, Logical Genius, explain to Jesse what is going to happen next in this next segment.
All right, Jesse. You've listened to the show, so you kind of know the spiel. But for our new listeners, what we're going to do, myself, the Logical Genius, SoSo Juv, and HLS, we're going to present to Jesse our top 5 topic to be mentioned list to Jesse, and Jesse gets to decide who has the best list from the 3 of us. He gets to pick who is in last. We don't care about second. And then he ultimately has to decide who is the first place winner for today's topic, which is...
The topic for tonight is best movies that predict the future. Now, while you're thinking about all these things, there's a criteria. There's a criteria for farming, right? You have to watch the weather. You have to plant the seeds. You need the John Deere tractor. There's all these things that checks and balances to get a good crop. But for this show, there's none of that.
None.
You might choose me because I used to frequent Canada a lot, and I have friends and family in Montreal.
Oh my goodness. You might choose me because I take on my 5 cents literally. It is my 5 cents.
You might choose me because I have the best outlook on the future than the rest of the 2 co-hosts are with me. And my outlook is that I'm going to win today's episode. So,
but whatever you decide, it's all up to you. But the first decision you must make, Jesse, before you go, is you get to decide who goes first.
Although I will point out that we haven't yet even talked about what the future is. So I think that's going to be part of what each of you kind of have to do, because, Logical Genius kind of alluded to that. And therefore, I think, Mr. Genius, you should go first.
All right. Usually when I go first, sometimes first, not always. So,
and everyone else goes to sleep.
Yeah. And it gives time for HLS to start Google searching and asking ChatGPT while we're doing our thing. So Jesse, I'm known for just interpreting the questions. What's the question? Top 5 movies that predicted the future. So my approach to this was predictions that actually happened, right? Not what is going to happen. I can point to a movie that says the world is going to blow up and the solar flare is going to destroy the earth. That hasn't happened yet. That's not a prediction. That hasn't. It's not past tense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I took movies that I thought, wow, the elements of the movies actually happened. They called it correctly. Maybe not the entire movie, but significant parts of the movie. So at number 5, I'm going to start with a movie that came out in 1990, starring the former governor of California, Total Recall. And the element in that movie that came true was self-driving cars. There's a
Oh,
scene
I
where he
thought of the three tits. I was like,
no,
yes,
see,
with breath
that's
augmentation.
well. Here's the thing. I was thinking, man, I wish that came true. I wish that prediction hasn't actually happened. But I will share with you guys later on in a private DM of a potential that right
Shut
that.
up.
So Jesse at number 5, self-driving cars. It's a
Mhm,
reality now, whether you
mhm,
trust it or not.
mhm.
Self-driving cars. SoSo Juv's sister, friend of the show, posted a video in the family chat that was her riding in a self-driving taxi, right? The only thing that we didn't get was the weird person, that animatronic looking machine that was half body or whatever. That didn't happen yet, but the car driving itself actually did. At number 4, I think a lot of people, it's known for this. Like this movie became like a pop culture thing, right? 2002, Minority Report, right? Two significant things that came out of that one was touchscreen, like virtual gestures, right, with screens and interfaces, right, and everyone was like targeting to try to do that virtually. Now we have that with a lot of virtual goggles. We have some that are holographic that you can touch and interface that way. The other big part, the big prediction was targeted advertisements, right? When Tom Cruise's character was running away, trying to get away, and they have this eye scanning thing that projected who he was and said his name out loud, and we're not quite there yet. But I know when I'm browsing, I don't know why Google knows that I'm looking for, a new vase, right? Right. So that's number 4 for me. At number 3, this is a very old movie, but I think it was significant because of what it predicted and when it predicted it. It was I found it ironic. This movie came out in 1902. It's called A Trip to the Moon. You may not know it by name, but you probably know it by the visual. It's the giant moon, black and white film with the big rocket ship in its eyeball, right? It predicted moon tr moon travel, men as human beings traveling to the moon, even before flight was invented by the Wright brothers in 1903. Like a good 11 months, I think. The movie came out in September of 2000, and I mean 1902. The Wright brothers did their flight thing in like December of 1903. So that I thought was a very significant prediction to be that far off, and in terms of even before flight, predicting that we would one day go to the moon and actually travel there. Now, if you're a flat earther, you may question that still as a prediction, but I won't, to each his own. At number 1, and number 1 and 2, I've been going back and forth, but I just, at number 1, I just went with one of my favorite movies of all time. But at number 2, I have 2001: A Space Odyssey. So a few things I predicted that they got right. Computer tablets, right? We have that now. Everyone has an iPad or some sort of Android device. Video calls, video conferencing calls. And this movie came out in 1968. The telephone wasn't invented until maybe a few years later, or the mobile cell phone. It also had introduced us to HAL 9000, which was an AI voice assistant. We know now with AI, and Jesse, there's more natural language recognition and having conversations. So to me, that was number 2, very significant movie in predicting and getting elements of the future correct. And at number 1, one of my all-time favorite movies, one of my all-time favorite movie series, Back to the Future Part 2. I love that movie. Marty McFly. Few things they got right. Wearable technology, right? If you remember the scene where he got to the family's dining room and he's putting on these goggles and taking a phone call and like doing things virtually. Um, Self-lacing shoes, right? It actually predicted what the Nike did, that other companies did that as well, that we actually have that shoe from the movie now. And that technology is used to assist others who may have trouble, tying their shoes. Um, a scene where Marty's girlfriend at the time, I think her name in the movie was Jen, where she was like left in the park and the cops found her and they brought her home. And how did she get in the house? Fingerprint scanner on the doorknob, right? I think fingerprint scanners were then available, but not like in the commercial space, right? So everyone has almost like some sort of smart device entry system. I do. I certainly have a fingerprint door entry system in my home. And the other big thing was mobile payments. So there was a scene where there was a gentleman soliciting funds to repair the clock that was damaged from the lightning strike, and he's like, "Oh, just give me your fingerprint," and that's how mobile payments are done. Or when older Biff was like jumping out of the taxi cab, he paid the taxi cab with the mobile payments. Hoverboards, I at first was like, "Oh, did we do hoverboards yet?" And they actually do exist in limited capacities. Of someone who invented a hoverboard where it was like a magnetic like skateboarding park. You know, his limitations. He's not going everywhere in the world, but that to me was the number one movie. It had so many things that it got right in terms of predicting what the future would hold and what it would look like. So Jesse, that's my 5 cents.
Right on.
Who do you want to hear from next?
HLS.
Hey, Jesse.
Prepare to be underwhelmed.
So we logical students kind of mentioned it. I think you kind of mentioned it. What is the future, right? Like it's everyone's different interpretation, right? SoSo Juv is getting excited. So my 5 cents goes like this. At number 5, there's a movie that came out in 2006 starring Robin Williams. What was it about? There's a TV show host who, guess what? Wait for it, runs for president and wins. And in 2016, we all know what happened. There's a TV show host who ran for president and won. At number 4, I have this movie. So I actually developed my crush on this actress called Scarlett Johansson. She was in a movie, well, her voice was in a movie called Her, starring Joaquin Phoenix in 2013, where Joaquin falls in love with his phone, with the voice from his phone. And now it's like a real thing. Now you have sex robots that have eyes and ears and moves. And in 2017, there's an AI chatbot called Replica. And there's been several reports of people falling in love with their AI companions. And number 3, this show predicted the future. This show predicted the phenomenon of reality TV. The Truman Show came out in 1998. And everyone was glued to the TV to watch what this guy was doing. And now everyone's glued to the TV watching the Kardashians, watching the Real Housewives, watching the Shahs of Sunset, the Love and Hip Hop wives, and the list could go on and on about all these people glued to this reality television. And number 2, your logical genius said it. I have the Minority Report, targeted advertising, touchscreens, tablets. You already went over it. And at number 1, this by far, I don't care what on anyone else's list, this is the number 1. If you don't have this on your list, you're crazy. This movie came out in 2011. It was about someone who traveled overseas and got sick, and then all of a sudden came back to the US and everyone's getting sick. It's called Contagion. Someone got sick from an animal overseas, brought it back, and all of a sudden the world was in a panic. People are shopping and buying things in bulk and clearing out shelves, and people are dying in mass. And you see this board about how many people are getting sick here and how it's spread. And now you have social distancing, you have mass, you have 6 feet apart, contagion, predicted COVID-19. And that, Jesse, is my 5 cents on the topic.
Right on.
Oh, Jesse. Here we go. This is my 5 cents on the topic. I'm so excited that we're at this place. So let's go with my approach here. And at number 5, I had to think about a historical tragedy. And for me, it is a movie with Denzel Washington, Bruce Willis, and Annette Bening. And it came out in 1998. And that is The Siege. And what tragic historical event happened? It was definitely 2001 when those Twin Towers got hit. We were under attack in The Siege, and then definitely was under attack 3 years later. So that's an oldie but goodie. I feel like that's a sneaky Denzel movie that people don't really talk about, but that one right there definitely give me those vibes. Number 4, I agree with HLS, which is shocking, is The Truman Show. The Truman Show to me is like all those Real Housewives shows, like the spin-off version, right? Where we focused on the lady who was bad at acting. And that's all the Real Housewife shows. So Truman Show, definitely a number 4. At number 3, and it's because I didn't see that Contagion movie, but I did see Outbreak. And Outbreak scared the living bejesus out of me. That movie came out in 1995. That was with Rene Russo, Dustin Hoffman. Once again, everybody is getting sick relating to COVID-19. Now, Jesse, my number 2, very personal to me. And it's one of those situations where, for me, I just finished my 12th year working in my career. So at number 2, I'm going with 12 Years a Slave. If you know, you know. That's all I got to say to people. If you've been in a career that long and you watched 12 Years a Slave, yeah, I'm sorry. This. If you haven't been in a career that long, just watch the movie. I'm letting you know. This is it, people. And at number 1, it was an animated movie, came out in 1990, and that is The Jetsons, the movie. And there is so many cross references with that. Smart thermostats, video calls, you got the robot vacuuming for you. I mean, all of that is happening today. So, Jesse, that is my 5 cents on the topic there. Now, what's going to happen next, Jesse, is you get to be put in the tough position of trying to figure out who is in first, who's in second, and who's in third. But we don't even care about second, but I don't know why I even said that. But we're going to do all of that next week in our next episode. So until then, this is our 5 cents.